football starts here. The youthful exuberance of the New England fans and some young Dolphin fans. Don't forget about them. And we're getting set now for the kickoff, and we don't always start out making a big deal about the coin toss and the decisions made, but Miami won the toss and elected to defer.
Defer and kick into the wind, and here's why I think they did it, Jim. You said it in the opening. What's New England worried about? Their offensive line. Miami says, let's go out there and see how our defensive line matches up right away. I think that's why they deferred.
Andrew Franks, the rookie kicker for the Dolphins. Launch it down the field to Amendola. The big leg through the back to the end zone. So Tom Brady and the Patriots from the 20. And Brady with these, again, crazy numbers. 16 touchdowns, only 1 interception. What will they do this week? Last week he was a leading rusher for the team. They came out throwing the first 12 snaps of the game. Anxious to see how they're going to approach Miami here.
I would think you have to be a little careful as you go out there just to see how your offensive line matches up before you decide, hey, we're going to go out and throw it every down.
Well, they're going to run it here with Blunt. And LeGarrette trying to back in for an extra yard. And he's got 7 on the first carry of the game.
And if you ask if that's the thing they want to do, run the football straight at this Miami defense. They have had trouble stopping the run. They're 30th in the league of 32 football teams.
2 tight ends in here for the Patriots, Phil. Gronkowski joined by Michael Williams. Now they've moved Vollmer over to the left side. Marcus Cannon inactive. They got Cameron Fleming on the right side, and Miami tries to stack up the run, but falling forward for the first down is LeGarrette Blunt.
Yeah, good push it inside. You know, you talked about this offensive line. Look at number 60, the center. Does a good job getting his block. David Andrews, and you can't say it enough. A rookie center. Trey Jackson, a rookie right guard. A practice squad player at right tackle. Cameron Fleming. They played together last week a lot. Should have some carryover.
Again, only 6 offensive linemen just tonight, and there's a completion over to Edelman, and Taylor with the quick takedown. Miami without Bryce McCain at corner tonight, so Taylor steps up as a starter. It's a gain of 7. Yeah, Belichick working that offensive line, and again with just a limited number of players tonight, with Cannon out with the toe injury, Jack Mason inactive with a knee, and they moved Vollmer over to the left side. You thought you might see some of Vollmer on the right side to try to match up against the likes of Cameron Wake and Sue over on that side.
No, but they're keeping the continuity going from last week.
Here's a 2nd and 3. And from the gun, Gronkowski split wide to the left. They toss it over to Blunt. Gets a block from Amendola. And the Dolphins bring him down about 2 yards shy of the first. We've got a flag on the field. First of the night, thrown by Pete Morelli's crew.
Personal foul, illegal crackback, number 80, the offense. 15-yard penalty remains, 2nd down.
So the Amendola block did not wash with the officials, and that'll back up the Patriots inside of the 25-yard line.
Well, there's Amendola. He's on the ground.
And he hits Jelani Jenkins.
Even though he's on the ground, you can see he makes an effort, so that's a good call. He went low. When he's down there, still tried to make that block, and that's why they threw the flag.
It'll be a 2nd and 18 coming up for New England. Dion Lewis is up after sitting out the last game with an abdomen injury. Here's a throw over to LaFell. Quick contact on LaFell, and it's only going to be about a 2-yard pickup. 3rd and 14 coming up, and this is where, if it in fact is going to be a pass play coming up for Miami, our first chance to see what these 2 guys do, Wake and Sue.
That's right, and this is what the Miami Dolphins, a little more conservative on the defensive side the last 2 weeks with a new defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, and this is what they want. Obvious passing situations where they don't have to worry about the run to go after Tom Brady.
Gronkowski to the near side, 3rd and 16, and they go screen with Lewis. And the speedy little Lewis has the first down. He just raced by a number of Dolphins without contact and picks up 17 before being brought down by Jones.
Well, we saw it on 2nd and long. Lewis coming out of the backfield, acts like he's going to block or help on Olivier Vernon to block, and comes out of the backfield. That's what they want to do. They do this a lot, the Patriots, when you watch them play, Jim. 3rd and long, they throw screens, and that was a big play against this Miami defense early.
All the way out to the 43 and a new set of downs. Blunt dragging 2 Dolphins with him near midfield. Bring him down after 6. Tom Brady's never lost on a Thursday. That's not all Thursday night games. There's a couple of Thanksgiving Day performances. 8-0. 20 touchdowns, 2 picks in Thursday performances.
Well, last week they threw it over 50 times. Didn't bother with the run because of the New York Jets defensive front. We saw 3 tight ends, and they ran behind it last time and picked up good yards.
It's Blunt. And he's near that first down yardage on the Miami side of the field. And Dan Campbell, he needed that defense to come out and make a statement after deferring to New England to start. But that's another first down for the Patriots at the 47 of the Dolphins.
So, you know, when you talk about the Patriots, too, you kind of know they're always going to look for what they perceive to be the weakness of the team they're playing against, and that's what they attack. And if you talk about Miami's defense, it's the run defense is what you want to go after.
Blunt already with 4 carries for 22 yards. Here's play action, and Brady across the middle has Gronkowski. Slips out of the tackle, and down the field he goes. Gronkowski to the end zone for the touchdown. 47 yards. Gronk got away from Rashad Jones and takes it the distance.
Well, Miami loves the matchup with Rashad Jones, number 20, against Rob Gronkowski. But they love this. So you run the football, you're just going to see Gronkowski go right down the middle, watch everybody near the line of scrimmage. And really, it's not man-to-man coverage, but just a good make Rashad Jones miss the tackle. And that's what people don't understand. Rob Gronkowski's so big, but so good in the open field once he catches the football.
Brady and Gronkowski pick up right where they left off Sunday afternoon in the 4th quarter against the Jets. Brady 4 for 4 on that drive, and Gostowski with the extra point. That's 436 consecutive makes on the PAT by Gostowski. And Gronkowski gets the Patriots an opening drive touchdown. You got to think that Campbell had faith that his defense could come out and maybe control things at the start at the line of scrimmage.
You know what it shows you? Even a well thought out and what you think is a great plan sometimes doesn't work. And the screenplay on 3rd and long to Dion Lewis,
that was the big play.
That was the play of the drive.
Yeah, it was 3rd and 16. He picked up 17. Gostowski to Damian Williams, and he lets it go. Tannehill only had 1 misfire last week, and that came midway through the 4th quarter. He had a perfect rating. We'll see this Dolphins offense for the first time in a moment. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Wendy's. Intel, see what the next generation of PCs can do. And by Nissan, innovation that excites. And they're getting busy over nearby New Bedford, Massachusetts, getting your supply ready for the 2016 season, partner.
There you go.
Here comes Tannehill.
There's a few of them, so I need them.
We're aware of that. They're working through the night. First play for the Dolphins is a run play with Lamar Miller. And Miller with a nice second effort there to take it out for a gain of 7. That perfect rating that Tannehill had against Houston was the first ever by a Miami quarterback with a minimum of 15 attempts in a game.
All those years, Dan Marino didn't get one of those. But when you watch this offense tonight, it's going to be different. He's not going to have that perfect rating because they're going to play him tight and take away those short throws to the wide receivers and even running backs when they split out.
Here's the play action, and Tannehill completes it to Miller, who has the first down, shoved out by Hightower. So Tannehill had this streak last week, Phil. He carried it over from the Tennessee win, got a completion streak up to 25 consecutive, the all-time NFL record. And again, his only incompletion maybe could have been caught by Deion Sims in the fourth quarter, but I said it was the first time, by the way. It's 3rd and 1 coming up. 3rd and 1. And Miller is the running back. Gets the call. And is able to take it outside, and Miller showing that speed, but we got a flag down.
Holding. Number 80 offense. 10-yard penalty remains. 3rd down.
It's on the tight end Sims, who had been injured earlier in the season. His return has been a big part of these last couple of weeks, but he's flagged this time.
Here he is on the outside. That's a good call. You can see Rob Ninkovich. He grabbed his jersey, pulled it, and we had 2 flags thrown because 2 different officials saw it.
So it's a 3rd and 11.
Hard to get outside on run plays against the New England defense. Their specialty is funnel everything inside and go in there if you want to have success.
They load up the right side for Tannehill. Here he throws, and it is some catch for the first down by Matthews.
Well, how about this? Rashard Matthews comes in one-on-one on the left side. We get good protection. You got to worry about Tannehill getting out of the pocket and running. But we've seen these outside routes, almost like double moves by the Miami wide receivers, and they've worked very well the last 2 weeks.
Miami has a player down. Their right tackle, Jawan James, their first-round pick a year ago, out of Tennessee, now gets to his feet. He's going to hobble over to the sideline.
You know, too, I think looks like he might be, well, I'm not a doctor, looks like he might be okay, just the fact that he's finding a way to walk off the field. But when you look at this Miami team and you play the Patriots, we saw it last week with Ryan Fitzpatrick as a quarterback, make a decision and be quick. You can move around and find that second open guy by moving as a quarterback.
Jason Fox in at right tackle, trying for a block here for Miller. And no gain on that carry. Never miss a moment of football action with the CBS Sports app. Every play and score, every game and every highlight right as they happen. Download the CBS Sports app now, cbssports.com/mobile. $82 points these last 2 weeks. 38 at Tennessee, 44 at home. And
False start. Number 76 offense. 5-yard penalty remains. 2nd down.
the 82 points scored, that's the most by a coach taking over a team in a 2-game stretch in the middle of the season since Mike Holovac put up 83 points in 2 games for the Boston Patriots back in 1961. One of the great gentlemen of yesteryear in the game.
Well, Coach Campbell had a week off. They had the bye week, so that helped him get ready for those 2 games where they went out and played so well. But also, they got some of their key players completely healthy, like Cameron Wake, Deion Sims, their best blocking tight end on the offensive side. That has helped them tremendously.
A 2nd and 15. And there's the throw on the money for the first down again. It is Matthews with a 2nd catch. Rashard Matthews has been a nice find for them this year. Has now 28 catches on the season. He's got a 17-yard play and a first down that time.
Jim, in preseason, he wanted to be cut. He didn't even want to go to training camp. Let me go. You're not going to let me compete for a job. Where's he going to be? Maybe make it as a 5th receiver. And he played so well during training camp and everything. One of the big surprises of this team, makes the tough catches anywhere on the field.
Watch for Jarvis Landry here. He hasn't touched the football to this point, their leading receiver, and trying to run with it now. Tannehill, he flooded the left side and then tried to fake him out and run it and keep it, but it certainly didn't catch them off guard. Loss of 1 on Tannehill.
A lot of window dressing, 4 receivers to the left. Watch up top. They run this play. Mike Pouncey leading the way. But Ninkovich, the fact that he got upfield, made sure he couldn't get outside, makes the quarterback make that little extra move. Too late. Defense is there to make the tackle.
Trying to match what Brady and the Patriots did with their first series. Take it down the field for a touchdown. 2nd and 11. And the toss to Miller. Right into the arms of Ninkovic. They've got another 3rd down coming up. Hit first by Alan Branch. Monday on CBS, see why Supergirl is TV's #1 new show. Don't miss a new episode Monday at 8, 7 Central. Only CBS.
Pass protection has been good so far. I knew the New England Patriots would come out here and play some tight man-to-man coverage. And the first couple of throws by Tannehill, these wide receivers are winning the battle outside.
He's got Landry in the backfield. Miller split wide to the left. Now he shifts back in. And here comes, no, they're all over Tannehill. Breaks the tackle, but he's in trouble. Back at the 41, taken down by Chandler Jones. He was chased around first, though, by Geno Grissom, and it's a loss of 6, and Miami must punt.
Well, they love to do these type of plays. We showed in the opening. Fake it one way, go to the other. But the New England Patriots, they see it every day in practice. That's what they studied for, to stop all those short passes to the outside, those type of screens. Very good job by the defense.
Dolphins, one of only 4 teams to change both the punter and place kicker coming into the season, along with Tampa and Pittsburgh. And this is Matt Darr sending it down to about the 15. Picked up on one hop by Amendola, and he is knocked down right away at that point by Zach Bowman. 42-yard punt. 7-0 New England. In that break, Juwan James, the right tackle for the Dolphins, was taken to the locker room. But back with New England. Its second drive of the game begins at the 15 with Dion Lewis, the running back. Jordan Phillips has come in at defensive tackle for the Dolphins. It's down pass play, and Brady had all kinds of time. Finds Lewis. Look at that wiggle. Lewis out to the 34. Gain of 19. Able to fake out Koamisi.
Well, really, they're going to change up all night long. To the right side, you're going to see a double team against the best pass rusher, Cameron Wake. And how about Dion Lewis? We saw him a few weeks ago down in Dallas. Did they miss him big time when he was out of the lineup last week? Almost impossible to tackle one-on-one when he's outside like that.
Quick toss back to Lewis. Pause for a moment. Takes off straight ahead all the way to the Dolphins 48. So from the 15 to the Miami 48 in 2 plays. Well, another 18 here. 3
screens, 2 of them very successful. They're very good. Josh Klein, 67 left guard, gets out there and pulls, gets a good block, and look at the center, David Andrews, down the field.
That's Scott Chandler, the tight end, formerly with the Buffalo Bills. He's got 9 more. Josh McDaniels.
Well, they were worried about protecting Tom Brady tonight. They were going to be a little careful. We saw that with the screens early. But I think they got confidence. The run game, of course, is working.
Second and 1. And Gronkowski denied that time by Grimes. All right, let's get the report down on the sidelines. Tracy.
Yes, Jim, an update on Dolphins right tackle Juwan James. We saw him go into the locker room for further evaluation on his big toe on the left foot. He tried to stand on his tippy toes, was unable to do it, in a lot of pain. He is questionable to return, Jim.
Right, and if he does not return, we saw Fox come in for him. That was the first incompletion of the game. The knockdown by Grimes for either side, either quarterback. 3rd and 1. Blunt hit around the net and trying to push the pile. He's inside of a yard, and you got an interesting decision coming up here for Belichick.
Yeah, as I look at it, looks like it's going to be short of 1 yard. So I would think Bill Belichick is going to go for it here in this situation, especially the success they've had here early in the game, just running the football.
That was really the first time they've stopped the run. That last carry by Blunt, who's in the backfield here for 4th and 1. The sneak.
And of course, I couldn't even get it out. The first thing you got to look for, and you can't give up in that situation, is the quarterback sneak. And how do you defend it? You put 2 defensive linemen, one on each side of the center, and you make Tom Brady go outside or hand it off to a running back, and don't give him that easy play.
He's got the first down. Why is it we don't see the sneak executed by other quarterbacks around the league anywhere close to the success level of Brady?
You know, as I watched it this past week, look at the center. Look how far David Andrews got down the field. Tom Brady gets low. The offensive linemen get lower than the defensive linemen. And they read the defense, and they go where the big guy isn't.
Cameron Wake is not out there for the last several plays. They've got Derek Shelby in at defensive end, and there's a good tackle behind the line with a flag coming in on the back end of it. Jones comes up and hits Blunt.
Personal foul. Clipping. Number 67 offense. 15-yard penalty. Still first down.
It's called on Josh Klein, who moves over to left guard tonight. And he's become one of the more experienced guys they have out there on that offensive front. Of course, the senior statesman is Sebastian Vollmer with the current configuration they have.
Well, you know, a couple of weeks ago we were down in Dallas, and what was Bill Belichick saying? I said, boy, you got so much depth on the offensive line. And
next Thursday, just a reminder, on NFL Network only, we'll have the Battle of Ohio, Cleveland and Cincinnati. 1st and 25. Timeouts called by Brady. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And by Bud Light. Make the right call. Drink responsibly. As you look at the Boston skyline off in the distance, Gillette Stadium located in between the state capitals of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. About equidistant from Boston, Providence. Here's a 1st and 25 off the penalty. And they go back to Gronkowski, and he's wrestled down, that time by Jenkins. His touchdown, by the way, earlier in this quarter, his 61st career touchdown catch in 61 career starts.
Well, he's covered by Akins. That time that was a blitz by the Miami defense. Well picked up. And you got to know this, when Tom Brady's the only guy back there, there's no running back or a tight end in the backfield, it's going to be a quick short pass. So you want to play tight and know as a defensive lineman, you got to make your move quick.
2nd and 18. Fell, his second short catch. Made his return last week off a PUP. He's got a couple here, but it's going to be 3rd and long coming up for the Patriots. Cameron Wake, who set out the early part of this series, is back on the field for the Dolphins defense, which needs to do something.
Well, they got 3rd and long again. Let's see if they can get pressure. The big thing is, can you find a way to make Tom Brady hold the football? So either good zone coverage where the first guy's not open, or very tight man-to-man and make him look for the second receiver.
3rd and 16, and now he's rolling out of the pocket and throwing on the run, up and over, and dropped at the last moment. Would have been a tough catch. Gronk wanted a hold. He doesn't get it.
Couple things happen there. Rashard Jones all over him, and good movement once again by Tom Brady.
So that ends the first quarter with the Patriots up 7-0. We'll return after these messages, and you're watching Thursday Night Football. Heavy rain passed through overnight. Beautiful clear evening here. Perfect autumn time of the year in New England as we start the second quarter. Jim Nance, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson, and Mike Carey, and all the crew here on Thursday Night Football. We start the second quarter with a New England punt. Ryan Allen. Jarvis Landry is dropped back for the Dolphins. Low snap. Fielded by Allen. Fair catch demanded and secured by Landry near the 10.
Well, Jim, a big matchup we want to watch tonight when it's man-to-man. Rashad Jones is right here. Here's Gronkowski. Then watch the receivers go down the field. Edelman going deep. They're all covered well, and a good job by Rashad Jones redirecting as Gronkowski turned up the field. Well, let's see. There's Tom Brady we talked about in the opening. One of the keys, how he's moved around more this year and gets outside the pocket and makes throws just like he did to Gronkowski.
Only the second time Miami's had it in this game. The fake and pass across the middle, batted down. Hightower was right there.
It's like the old Patriots back when they had Mike Vrabel, Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis, who's going to be honored here tonight. They are great. They got big linebackers. They read the quarterback, throws over the middle. They knock them down. And Dante Hightower, you looked at him, and then Jamie Collins. They have both been tremendous so far this year for this Patriots defense.
And I don't think Matthews was open anyway. Ryan had tight coverage on him. Here is Landry's first touch other than that fair catch. And he's knocked back for no gain. Hit first by Jamie Collins. Tuesday on CBS, a special pill makes him a crime-solving genius. And the FBI has made him their greatest asset. It's an all-new hit drama, Limitless Tuesday. Only CBS.
Well, here we go, Jim. We talked in the opening, the excitement. The Dolphins have won the last two. And what do I notice so far in the game? That New England right now is just a stronger, more physical football team on both sides of the ball. That's what it looks like.
3rd and 10. Oh, Tannehill wasn't ready for it. And that's going to be a safety. Complete breakdown on communication. Pouncey and the quarterback not on the same page. That's the first safety for the Patriots in 3 years. What did you see happen there?
Well, it looks like it's Ryan Tannehill, because if you watch Billy Turner, the right guard, he taps the center, Mike Pouncey, and then when he taps him, Tannehill, everybody moves in unison except the quarterback.
So now the free kick. And Edelman was back deep and won't reach him. And it's picked up by Chung, and who's going to advance it to the 45.
Well, Jim, let's look at what happens here. Watch the right guard, Billy Turner. Here he is. He's going to tap the center. So it's time to... And watch the offensive line. They all move in unison. The receivers take off. And really fortunate not to give up a touchdown here when you make a mistake like that.
So the first quarter and a minute into the second, not looking, look at that reaction, anything like the last 8 quarters for the Dolphins. As Blunt powers ahead for a quick 5.
Well, of course, we know this is a different opponent than they've seen the last 2 weeks. There's no question about that. And the thing about the Patriots, what makes it so tough, you know, we talked about a little bit this in the opening, is their game plan team. In other words, they changed their offense. Last week it was all pass. We can see they want to run it here tonight, and they do a lot of the same things on the defensive side too.
That's Williams moving over to the left side to help lead the way here for Blunt. But that is not open, as Vernon and others are in on him for a loss of 2.
Now, the one thing they have pretty good speed at linebacker, so those outside tosses, when you look at the defensive line, you see Jelani Jenkins, Shepard, Koamisi all run well. They should be able to get out there and stop those type of plays. But here's another obvious passing situation. They're getting one-on-one pass blocking. Can they take advantage of it?
Here's the 3rd and 7. Brady's pass incomplete. It was thrown in the direction of LaFell. That's the first time Brady has been knocked down.
Well, you can see once again being smart, knowing that it's giving respect to who's over there coming after you. The short route coverage was tight.
How important was that 3 and out forced by the defense?
Well, the defense 2 times. You know, you need some positive reinforcement. You're up here. It's a different situation, different environment.
They tried to rush the punter. Allen pinned him back at the 9 the last time. He's got another beauty here. Landry was going to try to do something with it, but who else but Matthew Slater. his specialty. In on him right away. And again, Miami will start a drive inside of its own 10. Sunday at 9 on NFL Network, Marshall Faulk goes one-on-one with star rookie Todd Gurley. NFL Game Day morning live Sunday at 9 only on NFL Network. You're questioning why Landry even fielded that punt, Phil.
Well, I can't anymore. I do it every single week. Why they catch it at the 5-yard line, I don't know.
Trying to get Miller going with a flag out, and there's nothing open for Lamar Miller.
On the offense, the penalty will be declined. Second down.
So Lamar Miller now 4 carries for 11 yards, nothing like what he did last week against Houston. And he only played in the first half, had 175 on the ground, and had another long touchdown reception. Of course, this Dolphin team set the all-time franchise record, putting up 41 first-half points last week. It's a struggle just to pick up first downs so far in this one. 2nd and 10 from the end zone. Pass should have been caught that time by Matthews.
Well, pass protection was good, but you know, you talk about Tannehill, and we watch him play. He has struggled up here in New England, and one of the reasons why, because we know he's mobile, he can run. They just know how to keep him right where he catches the snap or where he goes to, and just squeeze the pocket. Makes it tough to throw it down the field, and not much success when he plays in the stadium because of New England's pass rush and containment.
He's lost all 3 starts at Gillette. 2-1 at home. He's got a 3rd and 10. Here comes the pressure, and Matthews wanted a flag. Not going to get it. Tell you, they were close, talking about the Dolphins, to having a second safety against them in the quarter.
Yep, a lot of pressure, just pushing the pocket. Ninkovich goes underneath the right tackle that time, Jason Fox. Good job by Ryan Tannehill just getting rid of the football quickly. Rob Ninkovich, how about that? Special teams player, finds a way on the field. All of a sudden he's a starter and been an unbelievable contributor for many years.
The rookie from Tennessee, Dar, with a big boot. Look at that. Flies all the way to the 25. Off the bounce, Edelman with a 33. Give him 9 on the return, but give him 70 on the punt. 9-0 Patriots. NFL Thursday Night Football sponsored by LG V10. Capture the in-between moments. Nike, gear up at Nike.com and get out of here. And by the 2016 Lexus LS and new LX. Polish meets purposeful. Congratulations to the coach of the week, Joe Papagallo of Malden High School, just north of Boston. His Golden Tornadoes getting ready to face Peabody Veterans Memorial tomorrow night. Good luck to both teams. Not been a first down so far in this quarter for either side, as Brady drops back deep and finds Amendola for a gain of 11.
Want to throw it down the field, give your wide receivers more time, play action fake, keep extra blockers in there, and Tom Brady took advantage of it and really got his feet underneath him and threw a strike to the outside.
Amendola coming off of back-to-back big games, over 100 at Indianapolis and 8 catches, including a touchdown against the Jets. Brady's now hit 6 different targets so far in this game. Back to Gronkowski. And Jones able to push him out after 1. What have you seen out of Sue so far?
Well, it's what I see about every week when I watch him play. A good double team by the Patriots. Fleming, how about that? They just one on the outside, one on the inside, and there's nothing he can do. Pass rush. Oh, let's help out. Double team him there. So when you see all these double teams, and why it's worked the last couple weeks, well, you got Cameron Wake, Olivier Vernon now is healthy on the other side. You double team Ndamukong Suh. The defensive ends need to get to the quarterback.
2nd and 9. And here they come after Brady. Able to break away from the tackle and throw it deep. And there's no flag. Off the hands of LaFell. Taylor was able to catch up and get there at the last moment. LaFell, who had a hard time holding on to it against the Jets last Sunday, had his hands on this for a moment. Look at Vernon almost get to Brady.
Yep, he slips in there. Tom Brady, because he was moving, didn't quite crush the football. In other words, it wasn't perfect. That's why I was a little out of bounds.
What about the contact across the face guard before the ball got there?
Didn't see it when I watched it live. When I saw it live, I did not think it was a penalty. But when you watch the replay and it's slow.
What did you see there, Mike? Mike Carey?
They got away with a lucky one there. That rake across the face mask wasn't enough for pass interference.
3rd and 9, and they've sacked Brady for the first time, and it's Cameron Wake, who had only 1 tackle through the first 4 weeks. He wasn't healthy, but only 1 tackle, not even a sack. He had 6 the last 2 weeks, and now he's got a 7th.
Boy, good job by Cameron Wake turning the corner and getting that sack. That's what you want to see from him. They're being very careful, limiting his plays because he had a hamstring injury. He's been healthy, and they want to keep him that way.
So Wake's 100th career game, and this Miami defense keeping him in it. Here's Landry. And this will be their best starting position at the 27. Nate Ebner on the tackle. Kraft family has to, like what they've seen so far in this game, up 9-0, and Robert Kraft's going to have a big ceremony at halftime. There's Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins. Willie McGinnis is going to go into the Patriot Hall of Fame. He was the first pick once Mr. Kraft took over ownership here. First down throw over to Landry. That field is open. And he's tripped up near the first down. They'll spot it, looks like right on the mark. Tonight on The Late Show, Stephen Colbert. Don't miss Seth MacFarlane. And tomorrow, Stephen welcomes Charlie Rose. It's all new, only CBS. That's good for a first down on the pass play to Landry. Here they run it with Jonas Gray, the former Patriot. How about a difference a year makes for Jonas Gray? You think about last November in a game at Indianapolis. He had 201 yards rushing for the Patriots, 4 touchdowns. And now, you know, depending on how you look at it, he's the 2nd or 3rd running back at Miami.
And what happened to him up here in New England? I think he was late for practice.
That was it. It never was the
playing
same.
time, and the next guy up, and you lose your job.
A 2nd and 10. Tannehill. And there's Gray with a bad drop.
Well, they tried to come out, change the rhythm of their offense, and go a little quicker and faster, thinking, hey, let's get some first downs, get some rhythm, and get confidence in this offense. But a couple drops here so far tonight, really uninspired, not physical, not doing really anything right on the offensive side so far.
Well, this game could be much worse for the Dolphins than down 9-0. Their defense has managed to, after that opening drive by the Patriots, buckle down. Here's a 3rd and 10. And whopped is Tannehill by Chandler Jones, who has his second sack of the night.
Couple things. It took a long time. They keep him in the pocket. Chandler Jones gets around the edge. You look down the field, nobody's open. Watch the coverage. Nobody's there, and that's why he was holding the football and then allowed Chandler Jones get in there and get the sack.
Let's see if Dar could do anything close to repeating what he did last time. It was a 70-yard punt to change field position. That was Bolden getting close. It's another good kick with a lot of hang time. Back at the 10, Edelman. And Edelman with an 11-yard run back. 61-yard punt that time. And there is a
During
flag
the return,
down.
illegal block in the back. Number 24, the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down, and timeout.
Rashawn Melvin called for that one, so the Patriots will have their worst starting position of the evening when we come back. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Subway, the mouth-watering chicken and bacon ranch melt, and by Spectre in theaters November the 6th. That penalty backs up New England to the 10-yard line. And Brady steps back to the one to throw. To Edelman with a flag out. And he's out to the 32. If the play stands, it's good for 22.
Ineligible player downfield, number 71, the offense. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Well, they're saying the right tackle, Fleming, gets down the field, gets a block inside, and yes, he's down the field.
Fleming starting at right tackle, as again Cannon was out. They would prefer to have had Cannon if he was up, playing on the left side. And Sebastian Vollmer out of the University of Houston on the right side.
Well, what happened to him there, Jim? He was trying to sell the play action fake so much, got too far down the field for the block.
First and 15 from the end zone. There's contact with Brady on the pass. Earl Mitchell was the one in on Brady.
Earl Mitchell inside, very athletic. Number 90 gets around the edge, gets off the block. That time up David Andrews, the center.
You're starting to get a little more pressure on Brady.
They definitely are. You know, you always look at, I always think the offensive line as the game goes on gets the advantage because the defensive line tires out and you start seeing all their moves. Well, good job of adapting by the defensive line.
They give it to Lewis, and Lewis is wrapped up on a good piece of tackling by Jones, who comes up to make the play, holds him to 3. This D line we've talked about, this is maybe the most important matchup of the night. Wake already has a sack in this one, but the last 2 games was 6. Sue got his first 2 as a member of the Dolphins against Houston. 3rd and 12. And it was Wake who jumped, or was he drawn off?
Neutrals up in front. Number 91 defense. 5-yard penalty, remains third down.
Wake anxious to pounce, and he gives the Patriots a little more room to operate on 3rd down.
Well, you know, when you watch his stance from the outside, he gets his head low, he's up in the air, and it looks like he's getting ready to run the 100 meters in the NFL. Just watch his stance. Up, yep, no question.
So it's a 3rd and 7 now from the 13. Edelman comes out of the backfield. Pass on target to Lewis, who lined up as a wideout. They've got a first down. Picks up 12.
How about that? Very nice job. They've set it up. One thing that Dion Lewis can do, he can run those type of routes, double moves, go down the sideline, run the slants. Of course, we've already seen the screens, and if you play him off coverage, which Akins did, that's a pretty easy throw and catch.
Yeah, Lewis coming up big in the passing game now. That's 4 catches for 66 yards. Back to the big back and Blunt, and he picks up a couple. You've seen this going through the tape. You've seen a change in Brady, not only the way he throws the football, but the way his footwork in the pocket.
Well, we talked about in the open, moving around more. I've seen a couple times today where he's broken the pocket and made throws down the field. You know, Jim, he's adapting. That's what you got to do as a quarterback in the NFL now. And the biggest thing is, I saw it in preseason, his change of his mechanics works on him relentlessly and throwing the football as well as ever.
Well, here's a chance to throw on 2nd and 8, and a little too high for Edelman. But there was, again, some heat coming on to the quarterback by Vernon.
Yep, Vernon on the outside. Meets their best offensive lineman, you would say right now, Sebastian Vollmer. Don't forget, he's a right tackle, moved to left tackle to help this beat-up offensive line up. Out.
Mechanically, what is he doing different with his throwing motion?
His motion is just, he's standing taller, it's more compact, spins the ball harder, keeps the velocity up, and I think he's been as accurate with the football so far
Ball
this year.
start, number 87, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains third down.
Gronkowski gives back 5.
Than he has in many years.
Saturday, the SEC on CBS, the best game for the best conference. A rivalry that takes on a life all its own. Florida and Georgia meeting once again on neutral turf. And it all begins with college football today, this Saturday on CBS.
Well, if you're the Miami Dolphins defense, you got to be alert for what? Getting picked as a defensive back. Look out for screens on 3rd and long.
Well, I was thinking screen was the answer to that with Lewis, but he's in the block on 3rd down. Brady's pass too high, and Taylor on the coverage of Edelman. And again, the Miami defense steps up.
Well, that's it. The Miami defense is absolutely keeping this team in the game. And what they've done, they've hit Tom Brady enough, and they've been around him where it starts to unnerve you a little as a quarterback. Good job. He moves out of the way of Ndamukong Suh. But, you know, he feels the pressure, and that's why the throw was off target.
So the 4th punt of the evening for Allen. And that slips through the hands, but out of bounds. Started at about the 26-yard line. What would you suggest here that Miami can do offensively here in the rest of the second quarter?
I don't know. When you watch it, they're not doing anything well. They're not running it with power. I know one thing I would stop. I would stop trying to go outside in the run game. You know, we've talked about it almost every time we do a Patriots game. If you want to lose your job on the Patriots defense, let a run get outside you if you're a defensive end. So you got to run it with power up the middle, and they got to find a way and be more consistent with pass protection and throwing against the one-on-one coverage outside.
Kenny Stills at the top. There's Tannehill's pass intercepted. It is picked off by Logan Ryan.
He actually ran the route for him. I'm watching it, and you can see Logan. Watch this. He does it. He sits underneath, reads the break, then goes underneath the receiver. Wow, that's a really, I guess that's the way the route is supposed to be. As he makes the cut, Matthews, he's gaining ground instead of going straight towards the sideline, where you don't give an angle to the defensive back to cut under you and make that interception.
The first play of the drive results in Ryan's 3rd interception of the season. That's the most for the Patriots.
Well, he's looking there the whole way, but you know what? That doesn't really matter because the defensive back never watched him. He was reading the wide receiver.
Brady from the 39 with pressure, able to get it away, and a catch for a yard or 2 by Blunt. Hey, just a reminder, Thursday Night Football next week only on NFL Network. And all begins next Thursday. We'll go to the NFL Network exclusively. The first place Bengals take on the Browns. We'll see you next Thursday night.
Looking forward to that game. I'll tell you, Tom Brady's holding the football. Look at this. Cincy, their 6-0 start, playing really well. The coverage is good. Brady holds it. Defensive line's been getting there.
2nd and 8 carry by Blunt for 2 more. And we're inside of 5 minutes to go in the half. And so far, Tannehill and the Dolphins have produced 39 total yards of offense.
Well, they'll be well rested, you know, when this is over. There's no doubt about this first half. It's not been sharp. It's, like I've said, getting overpowered.
Only run 17 plays. Here's a 3rd and 6. And they'll have a decision to make here. It's going to be 4th and a foot. Blunt coming up. You got to think, knowing the way Belichick operates, he'll probably go for it here. Just inches shy, it appears.
Yeah, he's an aggressive coach in these decisions. The fact that he's been to 6 Super Bowls as a head coach can let you be even more aggressive. But right away, when it looked like it was short, I looked over there and you can see Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, looking at that play sheet. And what's the first play you would stop, Jim, right here?
Yeah, the quarterback sneak, which has already worked one other time on 4th and short.
The Miami sideline, when he ran that quarterback sneak, the coaches all were jumping up and down because they know they preached all week when they're going to do it, and they still let it happen.
So they get the measurement to confirm that, yeah, they're inside of a foot here.
You know, when he does these quarterback sneaks, Tom Brady, we really never talk about it with him, but it's not like, oh, he's going to automatically just go behind the center. Read the defense. It could go all the way out near the tackle. And, of course, they always have the option to change it to a running play with the running back.
And that running back is Blunt.
And that'd be a good guy to hand it to in a situation. Look how tight this formation is.
And flag first. If it's against New England, you got to think we'll see Gostowski.
False start, offense, 5-yard penalty. Still third down. Correction, fourth down.
I mean, Gostowski's made his last 6 from outside of 50. They bringing him out.
Over here, the left side, watch him move. They all flinch. It's a little different. They packed it in there so tight, they were making you think quarterback sneak, run up the middle.
Gostowski right here with this attempt, Phil, is going for the New England team record, to tie it, that is, of 25 consecutive makes, held by Adam Vinatieri. It will be a 52-yard attempt to keep the streak going. And Gostowski's kick will get a turnover, and it is good from 52. 25 consecutive makes to now share the record with his predecessor. We're back where the Patriots have a touchdown, a safety, and the field goal. And watch Gostowski smartly play this kick from 52 out.
You know, your golfing days, you know a lot about this. When you watch them, looks, I thought, oh my gosh, he missed it. And the win, you see the flags on top of the goalposts.
Very close to being blocked right past the hand of Shelby.
Well, another good job, really. The defense doing its part. The offense has got to find a way, get some confidence, find a way at least get a field goal here before the first half is over.
That one, not even a thought of being returned. And the Dolphins' possession chart so far, not a lot to talk about. 3 total first downs, and again, 39 yards.
You know what's happened? Talked about it. It's hard to go outside and run, but what they've done, they have big guys inside now. Alan Branch, they drafted in the first round, Malcolm Brown, and they are getting better every single week. So the statistics against this defense running the football, they lie. They're ranked 19th in the NFL, but they keep getting better every week.
It's the short throw and tripped up. Miller was bound to accelerate. It's only 3. You were talking about Tannehill's struggles here. He's not the only quarterback.
There you go.
They can't do anything up Gillette. 3 touchdowns, now 6 interceptions, and he's been on his back a number of times. Now, again, he's won 2 of the 3 matchups at home.
Well, the best thing, many good things this Patriots defense has done, but they have not let him move around at all so far in this game.
Oh, losing his footing right away is Miller. And just like that quickly, they're going to have a 3rd and 8.
That was easily inside a first-round draft pick. Well, you know, when you look at this Patriots team, they are deep on the defensive side. Outside pass rushers, linebackers, and 4 really good inside run stoppers.
Need a first down to keep the ball out of Brady's hands for a 2-minute drill. 3rd and 8. McCourty was blitzing and whistle first.
False start, Number 63 offense. 5-yard penalty remains. Third down.
Dallas Thomas, nothing's going right for the Dan Campbell crew here so far.
Yep, well, just as well. Nobody was open. So they get a second chance here. New England's showing them some different stuff. They're putting the linebackers inside. That time they were bringing a defensive back on the blitz.
This is
Got the 2-minute warning. And a 3rd and 13 when we come out of it. Well, JB, Coach Coward, Dion getting the lowdown on the Nuggets from Stuart Milstein, chief researcher, as they get ready for the Lexus halftime report. 3rd and 13 for Miami. And taking something off of it, lobbing it to Cameron, and it's incomplete. First time the tight end's been targeted tonight. Broken up by Patrick Chung.
Well, I'd say it's about time they throw it to him. A little out and up or trying to go up the sideline. And when you look at this offense, the two guys you want to stop. Jarvis Landry in a lot of different formations and movement. And then Jordan Cameron.
Tried his best to make a play on it, but look how well defended that was by a pair of defenders. Miami hasn't even reached the 40-yard line in this quarter, much less midfield for the entire first half. And this one, unlike the last couple by Dar, doesn't have a lot of hang time. Off the ground with it is Edelman. And Edelman weaving through a number of Dolphins. And now Brady and the Patriots will have the 2-minute offense with 2 timeouts near midfield.
Well, it's been sloppy from the start with this offense. Drop pass, not ready for the snap. Protection's been a little spotty.
Again, not a single play has been snapped for the Dolphins in New England territory. Now that defense, which they've leaned on for this half to just stay in the game somehow, has come up again, and they get this series started with Jenkins behind the line at a loss of 3.
Boy, a really good job. Tom Brady, Josh McDaniels trying to get the drive started with the draw play. They've thrown a lot of screens. Miami being very aggressive in the last few screens, especially to the outside. That's why New England went to the draw. Boy, the defense has come through big for this football team here in the first half, Jim.
As we approach a minute to go, again, the Patriots with 2 timeouts, 2nd and 13. Brady over the top. Complete for the first to Edelman.
Kind of reminds me back in the days when they won their first couple Super Bowls. They did more play action fakes, throwing it over the middle to the tight end and wide receivers. That was their #1 pass play, and it's worked pretty well here tonight, too.
And watch the tight end at the top of the screen. Nope, they're going to go left with the screen pass to Lewis. Lewis's 5th catch. It's another big gain, this one for 10. Give Klein some credit for a nice block.
Well, he's an excellent puller when you watch Josh Klein. That time, good job, keeps Earl Mitchell inside. Lets Dion Lewis get to the outside.
And Lewis out of bounds with 42 seconds. Now 77 receiving yards for Lewis on the night. Pass tipped at the line by Misi with the flag out.
Defense offside. Number 91 lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty remains. First down.
It's a 2nd penalty on Wake in the quarter. And again, the Lexus halftime report coming up with all the breakdown of the first half action from JB, Dion, and the coach. I think Bill Coward could relate to Dan Campbell. They both were in the league. They weren't stars in the league. They came in with a real aggressive mentality, brought a lot of energy to their teams. What we've seen out of Campbell at least through 2 weeks. 1st and 5. Nice catch that time by LaFell to give him a 1st and goal to go near the 5-yard line.
Beautiful throw by Tom Brady. He read the defense. He sees the coverage is upfield by Jamar Taylor, and he throws that back shoulder throw. That's when you know you're throwing the football really well as a quarterback. when you could throw it behind the receiver exactly where you needed to be. The pace of the football was perfect, and LaFell made the catch.
1st and goal from the 6. Brady. Edelman is there for the touchdown when the flag is out.
Pass interference, number 87, offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Well, it was a great right route by Edelman. Robert Gronkowski goes down the field, and Rashad Jones is in position. He owns that. That's where he was, and Gronkowski goes right into him, extends his arms. That's a good call. I like him. There you go. Yeah.
So the ball is taken back to the 16. 1st and goal from here with 29 seconds in the half. Across the middle, who else? Lewis! Touched to the end zone.
Well, it's the first big mistake this defense has really made. Lewis just comes out of the backfield. Nobody's there to cover him.
They haven't covered him out of the backfield all night.
Well, and there everybody else is running down the field, covering wide receivers, a tight end, and then you have a running back coming out of the backfield. Nobody assigned to him. Absolutely had to be a blown assignment. Looked like the safety was playing zone. Nobody was on the running back.
Dion Lewis, 6 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. In the receiving game, Brady was 4 for 4 on that drive, and it's now 19-0. Tom Brady now with 2 touchdown passes on the night, constantly finding Dion Lewis in the passing game.
Well, Jim, let's just watch as you see who covers Dion Lewis coming out of the backfield. And the answer is nobody. So just a big mistake. That's all they talked about all week, the Miami Dolphins. Let's make sure we stay composed, especially on the defensive side, and not make mistakes in these quick turnaround games, which most teams do here in New England.
24 seconds. Miami with 3 timeouts, and Patriots at home over the last 52 games. 48-4. 38-1 versus the AFC. And the 6 straight wins versus Miami. The last time the Dolphins won here, it was when the Dolphins unveiled the Wildcat.
Right.
No one had any idea about it at the time. Ronnie Brown had that monster game, and they won here back in 08. Tony Sperano, the coach, devising that. There's a catch by Landry. He gets out of bounds. Gains about 10.
Well, a little screen down the field. Everybody's blocking on the right side. Jarvis Landry comes underneath. But to me, I would be so careful in this situation. You get the football to start of the second half. Draw, screen, plays like that. You break a tackle, get a long gain, and maybe you can take a shot or 2 from there.
Well, they've got no one in the backfield with Tannehill with 16 seconds. In the pocket, again underneath. And it's Jonas Gray. Might want to quickly use a timeout here, and they do. Well, to give Franks, the rookie kicker, any chance, they need to pick up about 20 yards. And on the run, that is completion to Landry, and fortunate to have 1 second left.
That was a good job getting outside the pocket, and what it does, they're going to go for the field goal. To say at least you could throw the football into the end zone.
Oh, this is, of course, there is a little favorable wind. This kid has a huge leg. It would be close to all-time kind of record numbers here. It's going to be at 63, so it would be one shy of the record.
Don't forget number 91, Jamie Collins. Sorry, I missed him.
Timeout called by the Patriots. This is going to be an attempt that would tie the second longest field goal in the history of the league. Matt Prater at 64 has the longest. The rookie kicker, Andrew Franks, out of Carmel by the Sea, California. Makes this, he might be on the front page of the Carmel Pinecone this week. His kick is Andrew Franks. No, never had a chance.
No. Tried to kick it so hard, he knew the distance was so long, and that took it like, well, I think we know what that means for most people who golf, but he just put that extra effort into it and just kicks it way offline.
Yeah, you thought there might be a chance we'd see Jamie Collins coming up the middle and having a chance at a block, but that didn't even come close to going across the middle of the line. So last week, 41 points by the Dolphins. No points this week. The third time in the history of the game someone put up 40 plus one week and didn't produce a point the next. 19-0 New England at the intermission. Back after this message and a word from your local station. Here we are on the road to Super Bowl 50. And here's a memory for you. Willie McGinnis played in 4 Super Bowls with the Patriots, winning 3 of them. Making plays, and tonight recognized as a member now of the Patriot Hall of Fame. Just a moment ago, Robert Kraft there to welcome what he calls Willie his firstborn. He was
That's right.
His first Patriot draft pick out of USC back in 1994. Willie doing a lot of great television work and also doing a lot for youth football out in Long Beach, California.
Yeah, great ambassador for the game. There's no question. Maybe he spurred his Patriots team on tonight because what do you say except total domination? Miami's offense can do nothing. They're not making a play that even gets close to scaring this Patriots defense that is attacking all night long. So they got to make some plays and back them up.
All right, let's take a State Farm look at this. A little double check. Highlight from the first half presented by State Farm. Brady to Gronkowski, that opening drive. Really fueled, too, by that screen pass on a 3rd and 16 to Dion Lewis. Lewis just, I think, was the real difference maker in this first 2 quarters of action.
It's amazing, isn't it? We'll look at the first half stats, but think of Dion Lewis. They lose Shane Vereen. Oh, wow, one of the best running backs that catches the football out of the backfield and outside. And Dion Lewis steps in and has done a terrific job. How about the total yards? You know, it's big, of course, for the Patriots, 241. But the Miami defense was on the field the whole time. Their offense never gave them a rest.
There's Landry back on the in line. He had 4 catches for 38 yards in the first half. At half of the Dolphin total yardage, 76 yards. That's all Miami could muster. And now Gostowski will put it on a tee here, as it's been all New England so far. Miami played it here at Gillette last December, and it was a similar type game in that New England dominated on that occasion, winning by 4 touchdowns. Second half is underway with the expected touchback, and we're going to take it right down to the sideline. Tracy, it's all yours.
Well, thanks, Jim. Dan Campbell wants his impact players to step up. He wants more production on 1st and 2nd down, and he wants his offense to stop shooting themselves in the foot. He said that he told them in the locker room, keep pounding the rock, do not lose hope. There's a whole half left. They're still in this game, and remember, this is the first time they've faced adversity under Dan Campbell as a head coach, Jim.
And adversity as well on that offensive line. Juwan James with a toe injury early on. He has not returned to the lineup here to start this first drive of the second half. It's Tannehill, middle of the field, and he's got Landry. That's what we saw right at the very end of the first half. That's good for 15 more.
Well, that was a good play to start the second half to get some confidence for Landry and Ryan Tannehill. They usually make that fake, and the wide receiver goes across the field. That time, Jarvis Landry stopped, broke back outside. Tannehill on the money.
Landry, who had 2 touchdown catches against the Texans last week and had 84 receptions last year as a rookie, a banner rookie class of receivers a year ago. He had the second most catches of the rooks. Good time for Tannehill, and he gets it to Miller. Lowers his shoulder and runs into Ryan after 8 or 9.
Well, nice safe throw by Ryan Tannehill, but you know, when you get chances like this, watch the seam go up here. You know, they're going to do it, send them vertical, and they got the shot they want. But early in the second half, you're trying to build confidence. So Ryan Tannehill playing it safe. Can't blame him, gets a completion.
He's connected on his last 5 passes. And he's got a 2nd and 2. There's Miller. He gets pushed ahead. Might have even been a little help by Duron Harmon, the safety for the Patriots, pushing him forward. First down for the Dolphins.
Well, how about this run defense? We said it many times. Why do you even try to get outside? They smother that. And every time they've done it, look at the, what you call setting the edge. And they do it. It's preached to them constantly by Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick, and they do it very well.
Last week, Miami had 6 rushes of at least 10 yards, big gains. So far tonight, they have 13 yards on the ground for the evening. Down the field, open, and dropped. That was Kenny Stills. It certainly could have made a difference here on this drive to try to change some momentum. Would have been near the 20-yard line.
Well, it's a perfect throw. Kenny Stills is probably their speed receiver, the guy they like to get down the field. At the very last second, Jim, you can see he takes his eyes off the football because he sees the safety coming over, and it allows Coleman to knock it out.
We're now receiving word from the Dolphins sideline that Jawan James is out for the rest of the game. Hightower blitzing. Miller picked him up, and Tannehill got the throw away just barely. And again, this time it's Stills. After the drop on the previous play, this time he holds on and picks up 23.
Beats Patrick Chung, going to come across the field. They cross the receivers. And boy, Ryan Tannehill hangs in there, takes a hit, and puts the football right on the money.
That was a tough throw to make, wasn't it?
It was, and tight coverage, but tough to stay with receivers when they're crossing the field. And the defensive back sees the other receiver, his teammate, slows him down just enough to create that separation.
They've got the rookie first-round receiver. You may have seen him in there. Devontae Parker in. As Tannehill flushed out on the run. He launches downfield, and it's caught at the 2-yard line by Jordan Cameron.
Well, nice job. Really great job by Ryan Tannehill getting outside the pocket, and something that he does very well, throwing on the run. And Chandler Jones gets caught inside, allows him outside, and he makes that motion take off. Boy, beautiful spiral, great technique.
And first catch of the night for Cameron. Chung got a little nicked, and I got to tell you, so did Brandon Albert, the left tackle. Chung comes out, and the Dolphins have a 1st and goal to go. From the 2, it's Miller. Miller powering ahead. Looks like he's across, and he is for the touchdown.
Boy, great read by Miller that time. Patient enough to see the block and get between or get to the right of the center.
Well, that's a little change in attitude from the first half, isn't it?
It sure was. You think, oh, they're going to not make this work because you saw the drop pass by Kenny Stills, but what a move by Ryan Tannehill. Hey, look, when he's had time, he's thrown the football well. He's thrown the football well all year long when given time.
He was 4 out of 5 on that drive, was Tannehill, for 75 yards, and then Miller takes it the final 2. enough to put Miami on the board. Extra point is good.
Well, Dan Campbell said, I want my playmakers to make some plays, and we saw it on that drive.
Yo, VIP. Let's kick it.
First 3.5 minutes of the third, they exceed their yardage total from the first half, and they matched the 5 first downs they had in the first 2 quarters. And Miami shows a little life offensively for the first time.
That'll make that defense back up and think a little bit after that drive. They won't be in attack mode like they were in the first half. It seemed like every play.
Hey, since 2000, AFC East head coaches, Campbell the 8th for Miami. Ryan becomes the 8th for Buffalo. And of course, he's one of 5 for the Jets since 2000.
And there's the lone man.
Yep. With his 4 Super Bowl titles, matching Chuck Noll. Brady, of course, with just only 1 NFL head coach and just 3 offensive coordinators his entire career. Charlie Weiss, Bill O'Brien, and Josh McDaniels for the second time around. It's Lewis. Look at him again, slip out of tackles.
Unbelievable.
Pick up 11 or 12. He hadn't done anything rushing the football. 2 carries, no yardage in the first half, but that's his best run after a big first half catching the football.
Well, you just watch. You don't have to say anything. Try to tackle him when he's out here in the open space. Screenplay, wide, lines up as a wide receiver. Then, of course, not covered. But the one thing Bill Belichick says about Dion Lewis, he's not just a little gimmick guy. He goes, if we put him in the backfield, he's good enough to run the football in between the tackles.
False start, number 71 offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
These running backs catching the football. Kevin Falk, who was here for so many years and contributed on those championship teams. Danny Woodhead and Shane Vereen, of course, off to the Giants this year. Dion Lewis, got to think he's the quickest of them all, Phil. Here's Brady's pass. Nice catch, reaching down for it is Gronkowski. Stopped about 3 yards short of the first.
Yeah, I think he is. He's definitely the quickest of all, and maybe the most versatile when you talk about all those running backs. Watch Tom Brady lead Gronkowski past the linebacker. He knew he was in trouble, softened up with the throw, and Rob Gronkowski ran right into it.
2nd and 3. Here's Lewis. Look at the cuts he's making and has the first down. He went to Pitt, following in the footsteps of LaShawn McCoy, ended up with the Eagles and played behind him, learned so much from his buddy. Played there for a short while and then went to Cleveland. He had a broken leg in the second preseason game back in 2013, and here he is.
Well, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago. I think the Patriots have had their eye on him for quite a while. They finally had a chance to get him into camp. A little hurt during the preseason, but once he got healthy, they have found how to use him.
Back to Blunt. Nice job by Jelani Jenkins turning around and running right into the ball carrier. Watch original NFL shows and catch what is trending around the league with the all-new NFL Now. Watch on NFL Mobile, your connected TV devices, or go to NFL.com/now.
You know, you talk about this Patriots team and just think of all the different offenses and different style of players we've seen. The big receivers throw it down the field. Then it was, power running when they first started. And then now we see small receivers, different types of running backs. Just a creative offense.
2nd and 9. For another first. Gronkowski's 5th catch of the night, over 80 yards total, and a touchdown.
And you say, the first thing we're going to do when we play the Patriots, we're going to take away Rob Gronkowski. That is so easy to say and almost impossible to do unless you have the guy that can cover him one-on-one at all times. And that's tough because he lines up everywhere, he goes in motion, and he's so big, even if you cover him, he'll just push you off.
First down from the 38. Edelman. And the Patriots just picking up big chunks of yardage on their first possession of the second half. Another 9 that time.
Making it look easy. They're trying some different stuff on the defensive side. Earl Mitchell that time, the inside defensive lineman, dropped back as the middle linebacker. Tom Brady. They've done so many crossing routes in his career. Watch number 90 get back there. Big Earl Mitchell. He's big, but not much of a defender in the pass game.
Second and not even a foot. Trying to get it with Blunt. And he's going to just bull ahead for the first. 4-yard gain for Blunt.
Well, many styles they can play, right? When you watch it, screens, quick passes, play action. Give it to Dion Lewis, and let's bring in one of the biggest running backs in the league, LeGarrette Blunt.
And now hurry up. This first down snap. Blunt gets into the secondary before the safety is run over, but gets credit for the tackle. Jones holds him to 9.
Rashad Jones sees it, does a great job of getting in the proper lane to stop it from being even a bigger gain.
It's Blunt again, and he has grabbed around the shoulder pads and stopped for no gain. As again, it's Jones in on the tackle along with Earl Mitchell. He got a third down, and they've gone to this hurry-up approach.
It is always when we do a game up here, or wherever we do a game with the New England Patriots, the #1 fear of every defensive coordinator, because they're afraid they won't get lined up in the proper spots, leave somebody uncovered. No matter how you practice it, it's hard to be ready for it when the action is real.
Third, they really need about 2 here. Brady steps up and incomplete. Pocket was collapsing and ended up trying to ditch it to LaFell, and they'll have now Gostowski come out and try to set the record alone for most consecutive field goals made in Patriot history.
Coverage was good at first. Edelman, he tried to move in the pocket to throw it. They had 8 hurries on Tom Brady, this defense did in the first half. That's all you can expect regarding the fact that they run so many different type of plays.
So now for the record, for 26 consecutive makes. From 36 out, Gostowski's kick, dead center. He has the record now. And by the way, that's 49 straight makes at home. Crazy numbers. 22-7. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by State Farm. Find your agent at statefarm.com. The all-new Mazda CX-3. Mazda, driving matters. And by AARP, real possibilities. The CBS scene, part of this great village known as Patriot Place. And Gostowski and the Patriots. The margin is still 2 scores. That's a win for the Miami defense in the end.
Absolutely.
Holding them to 3. This one is going to be returned. From the goal line, it's Landry. He stopped short of the 20. It's Ebner again with a special teams tackle. Freeney got there also. Let's see if Miami's offense can continue the role we saw the last time they had the football. New England scoring on his first drive of the second half for the 7th time in the 7 games this season. Every third quarter, first drive, they put up points. 3 touchdowns, 4 field goals. Now the Dolphins come out. A little throw over to Miller. He's got 4 or 5 yards with that one. What did you see out of the Dolphins that was different in that last drive from the first half?
They went down the field with the football in man-to-man coverage and made some plays. But here was the play of the drive. You would hope if he gets the opportunity, Ryan Tannehill, he would break the pocket to try to create plays just like that. I know this. The coaching staff, they do not discourage him from running. If you see a gap, take off, look down the field. The receiver's got enough speed to break away if you give him a second move.
Out of the gun with a pair of tight ends, Sims and Cameron. And a whistle.
False start, number 14 offense, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
By the way, Week 8 continues Sunday morning live from London at a special time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Fox. And then check your local listings for the 1 o'clock set of games on CBS and Fox, including San Diego at Baltimore. Congratulations to Philip Rivers and his wife Tiffany. Your little baby girl Claire was born last night to that great family. Here's a 2nd and 11. Tannehill steps up, throws. He's got Landry for a first down. Nice block by Deion Sims on Ninkovich.
Yep, kept him on the outside, allowed Tannehill to step up and make the play. And again, they run a lot of routes across the field. I think New England's expecting those crossing routes and a good misdirection route, and Ninkovich gets a hit on the quarterback. But nice job. You want your star players to make the play. That's Jarvis Landry is at the wide receiver position is one of them.
Yeah, he's got 6 catches for 71 yards. And a new set of downs back over to Matthews. Well, Dan Campbell, one of a number of former tight ends in the league who went on to become head coaches, like the great Mike Ditka, Mike Tice, Ken Wisenhunt. He comes from a little town in Texas, Morgan, Texas. Family owned a ranch where he'd helped herd 100 head of cattle. Went on to Texas A&M to play, drafted in the 3rd round by the Giants back in '99. He thought he was going to be their start tight end. A few years later, they drafted a guy named Jeremy Shockey. Draw play to Miller. And just a couple. Came into the league, it looked a little bit like the Clay Matthews of his time.
Yeah, it's
and they
good look.
5 years as an assistant, primarily as the tight end coach. Now the head coach, and again the youngest in the league at 39. He went from the Giants after Shockey came on board, went to the Cowboys, thought this is going to be my chance. Then they go and draft a guy named Jason Witten. His first NFL touchdown catch was as a member of the Giants against Tennessee off the hands of Kerry Collins. His first win was coaching against Tennessee. Here's a 3rd and 1. And look at the Patriots step up. And it's Salinga on Miller right away. And the Dolphins drive comes to an end.
Watch them go this way. Hicks, Salinga, they just can't block them as they slant, get up the field. They were slanting to the offense's right. And Miami couldn't make the blocks. That was a big stop for the Patriots, and more importantly, an awful miss by the Miami Dolphins offense.
You take Lamar Miller, he had that 175-yard effort on the ground, and he only played the first half against Houston. He's got only 15 on the ground tonight on 9 carries. Though one of them went for a touchdown. That's not what they were asking Dar to do right there. Fly it into the middle of the end zone for a net of 38. Patriots up 22-7 in the 3rd. We are just a couple of nights away from the candy chase. Trick-or-treating, and this video courtesy of Gronk's father, Gordy here, Throwback Thursday. It's Rob at the age of 5 during a kindergarten celebration in Williamsville, New York, and look at the hands back then.
Yeah, that's right. And did you see not the anger, but the force he was trying to hit that with? So what's the old saying? If they bite when they're young, they're going to bite when they're old. Tough football player with great hands.
Yeah, he had the size advantage at 5 also.
It's amazing he was 5.
It's in a slot to the left on first down. Brady looks across the middle, and it's off the fingertips of Scott Chandler. And again, next Thursday, a reminder, we've got the Browns at the Bengals. Will Cincinnati go into that game still unbeaten? They've got to play at Pittsburgh this Sunday. The game we'll have on CBS. But next Thursday, NFL Network only on Thursday Night Football. Browns-Bengals. 2nd and 10. Brady down the field. Turning around to make a catch. That kid you saw from Williamsville, New York, at the age of 5, Gronkowski for 24.
They love this play. They created 2 tight ends, One goes inside on the seam, the other one goes outside. Everybody in the league tries to duplicate it. Hard to do unless you got a tight end like Gronkowski, Chandler.
He's over 100 with his 6th catch. And now they don't even huddle as Lewis slips, gets to his feet, and the forward progress might be back near the line of scrimmage. Actually, they're going to mark him back as a loss of 2. He's hit so far. Brady talking about his distribution. 7 wide outs, 7 passes to the tight ends. That's 6 to Rob Gronkowski, 1 to Chandler, and 7 to the running backs, primarily that being Lewis. A 2nd and 12, pressure down the sideline. He goes, and it's just out of reach for Lewis, who was trying to beat Grimes on the play.
Well, Brett Grimes probably going, finally somebody that's my size out here to cover. You see him cover one-on-one against some of the always the best receiver of the other team, Calvin Johnson, whatever. This week a little different. Julian Edelman, Dion Lewis. Good coverage, small window to throw it into.
A minute to go in the 3rd. A fast-moving 3rd quarter. 3rd and 12. Brady with time. Now just flips it in the direction of Lewis. And the Miami defense shuts down the Patriots near midfield, forcing a punt.
Yeah, coverage was really good down the field. They're going to make sure Cameron Wake, he couldn't get there, but they have a guy in the middle, made Tom Brady pull it down.
This is Brady's reaction. Meanwhile, Cameron Wake is still down on the field.
He got blocked by, on the outside, Michael Williams, the tight end. He was going to be double teamed and didn't see what happened. I know he got pushed way outside though. You know, just one of the reasons why, Jim, we've seen him. They try to pace his number of plays. They've kept him out. You know, anytime he's an explosive player, and when you have hamstring problems, which he did the first 4 weeks of the year, you have to worry about it.
Here he is, 91.
Yep, Michael Williams. Oh yeah, right away you could see him pull up.
Well, now he has to be assisted to the sideline.
Well, that's a big loss for the football team. They've already lost Juwan James, the right tackle, which has affected a few plays here tonight. You know, when you have a backup tackle in there, defensive ends are going to take advantage of it.
This Miami offense, 2 series this half. They moved it down the field the first time for the touchdown. Second time it looked like they were going to kind of pick up right where they had left off the last drive before the Patriot defense stopped them. But do you see enough out of them right now to think that the Dolphins
Yes.
can do something here with about 16 minutes to go in the game?
I do. I think they're going to have they're going to get some chances to make those plays down the field. And you know, I'm not looking at this game in no way thinking this is locked up. The Patriots haven't won. So that drive gives you faith if you're a Dolphins fan.
There's Allen with his 5th punt of the night. And he's had some good ones pinning the Dolphins deep. 38 yards, gets it done. As Tannehill and Miami will begin at the 11. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by AT&T, mobilizing your world. And by Lowe's. Hurry in this weekend for great fall savings. Happy Halloween from Gillette Stadium. Jim Nance, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson. Mike Carey on board here as well, along with Lance Barrow. Mike Arnold producing and directing Thursday Night Football. From the 12, Tannehill works the middle, and it's too steep. Dangerous throw in the direction of Landry.
Yep, little dangerous. Had to be careful with it. Had to get it over the top of Rob Ninkovich, so that's what made him throw it just out of the reach of Landry.
Look what's happening with Cameron Wake. Being taken inside. Second and 10. It's to Matthews. He gets out to about the 20, which will set up a third and about 2. Tonight, 4 prospects try out for a chance to make it to training camp on undrafted. Then football town, Barrow, Alaska. The Whalers continue to fight for a playoff spot. 2-hit NFL Network original series tonight after the postgame, only on NFL Network. Can the Dolphins pick up a first down here in the closing seconds of the third quarter? We'll call it 3rd and 3. And that's good for the first to Matthews. And that'll run out time in quarter number 3. There it was Tannehill. They also had Miller open on the left side, but he found Matthews. 22-7 Patriots after 3. We'll return after this message and a word from your local station. 15 minutes to go. Belichick and the Patriots trying to steer the ship to shore here and pick up a 7th win in 7 games on the season. But Miami, new set of downs to start the quarter with a little swing pass over to Miller. And that side closed down by McCourty and Butler. Held to only 3. Here's a little look at play distribution under Philbin when they would go with 2 tight ends, 2 wideouts. That personnel grouping under Philbin, only 7% of the time. Of course, Campbell, a former tight end, almost 40% of the time. And when he's gone to that grouping, for Campbell, it's averaged over 8 yards a play, Phil.
Well, you said it, ex-tight end. He wants the team to be more physical. And if you want to accomplish that, Jim, you put more tight ends in the game. But being physical sure didn't work here tonight.
2nd and 7. There's another pass intercepted, but this time Harmon gets to his feet and has some help down the sideline before Tannehill comes in and makes the tackle off his own interception. Seemed to be a little miscommunication there.
Yeah, I thought you were going here. Instead, you went there. And as he threw the football, I think he was expecting Matthews to break outside. He kept going up the seam. And that is some catch by Harmon for the interception.
Well, you're not kidding.
But he was expecting the receiver, the inside receiver, to go outside. He didn't, and this is what you do when you're really upset with an interception as a quarterback. Got to be careful, but you go in there and try to make a tackle.
Second interception thrown tonight by Tannehill. And from the 15, it's Edelman for 5. Edelman's 4th catch.
Well, you see Tannehill and Rashard Matthews talking about that play. That's twice. I think he's targeting him and made throws, and they've been intercepted. So,
boy, Harmon just laying out for that pick. You'd like to have your wide receivers be able to make catches like that, much less your safeties. 2nd and 5. There's Brady under pressure, and it's incomplete as he hits the ground. And we've got a Patriot lineman knocked down. It's Trey Jackson, the right guard. And he's got Sue in the area. Might have stepped on him too. Well, Trey Jackson is just now getting help to his feet. There was nothing sinister that happened on this play. He got tangled up with Sue and then got hit low by Olivier Vernon. And he immediately clutches that left knee. And now they're down to their last offensive lineman as Ryan Wendell will come in for him. They only dress 6 tonight. Already, of course, with Nate Solder on IR and Marcus Cannon inactive tonight because of a toe injury. Wendell, a very experienced player. will take over Jackson's position at right guard. 3rd and 5. Reaches across alertly for another touchdown for New England. Cashing in off the Harmon interception.
Wrong guy. Edelman to the outside. Really simple route. Everybody in the league runs it. Guy in the back of the end zone. Edelman hooks up. Somebody in the flat, and that's an awesome job of catching the football and staying off the ground as you score the touchdown.
And they'll confirm it. The knee was never down. The Patriots have just scored in a 27th straight quarter. They did not score in the first quarter in the opening game, a Thursday game it was against Pittsburgh, but every quarter after that, they put up points. Harmon sets it up. Takeaway points for New England, ending with Edelman. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by McDonald's, now serving all-day breakfast. Corona, who invites you to find your beach. And by Lincoln Motor Company and the 2016 Lincoln MKZ Hybrid. Well, Moon over New England, New England over Miami. 29-7.
A little different atmosphere for this Miami team. A step up in talent, no question. Talked about it when we first started the game, Jim. Just that the team is tough. And they can grind it out physically and mentally for 60 minutes. We're seeing that again here tonight.
It's Landry with a good return. Gostowski got a hand on him and slowed him down, but one of the better returns you'll see against the special teams unit of the Patriots. A 50-yard run back. That stat we talked about before, consecutive quarters scored, 27 quarters, longest in the league in 10 years. Thursday Night Football now only on NFL Network beginning next Thursday. The first place Bengals take on the Browns. AFC North showdown, Thursday Night Football. Again, 8 o'clock next Thursday, only on NFL Network. Off the big return by Landry from midfield. Pressure, Tannehill, ducking and down. Chung comes out of the secondary, and Ninkovich is on him as well, and a loss of 10.
Jason Fox, the right tackle. Ninkovich, here comes Chung. When there's nobody else back there, you got 5 linemen, hard to pick up an edge blitzer. New England taking advantage of the formation.
Miami gets to the line rather quickly before the Patriots were totally set, but it doesn't matter. Hightower is all over Tannehill, and back-to-back sacks by the Patriots.
Well, this is what happened to this team early in the year. 77, Billy Jenkins, the right guard, gets beat. They got behind. They start throwing the football, and the offensive line is just not ready to be able to protect down after down in obvious passing situations.
And now 3rd and 28. And push back Jonas Gray by Chung, his old teammate. And that series was a disaster for Miami. Back-to-back sacks on the field for barely a minute.
Well, you know, Jim, some of the things we talked about, they couldn't get outside. They're not a power running team, so that hasn't worked. I don't want to call them their gimmick plays, all the screens, the quick throws. We've seen none of that tonight. Why? Because the Patriots, they took them all away. They were going to make them throw it down the field in tight coverage. They've had some success, but not near enough.
Edelman stepping away from it and made the right decision. To your point, not fielding these punts deep.
Special teams are excellent here in New England.
NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance, and by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. We got an update now on Cameron. Wait, Tracy, let's go down to you.
That's right, Jim. After further evaluation in the locker room, it is an Achilles injury for Cameron Wake, and he is out for the game. As for Patriots offensive lineman Trey Jackson, he is questionable with a left knee injury. Jim?
Okay. Could be rough news for the Dolphins. One of their star players is Blunt. Breaks it outside. Stiff arms Taylor's got 13. Puts Blunt up to 60 on the night on the ground.
Yeah, just, we've said it so many times. This time even Julian Edelman gets in there and gets a block, but LeGarrette Blunt, so big, can run inside, but the ability just to bounce it out. And the Patriots, what do they do on the offensive side? It doesn't matter what game they play, throw it every down or run. They just wear you down with everything they can do.
There's Blunt. It looked like for a moment it might be a little too much congestion on the exchange, but they still able to dart ahead with Blunt for another 9.
It's pretty amazing. You come into the game, we're talking about what's the biggest advantage for the Miami Dolphins in the game. We said, right,
yeah, it's going to be the defensive line against the offensive line of New England.
Couldn't wait to see it. This is going to even things out maybe, and what a job by the Patriots. Josh McDaniels, the game plan, protecting a beat-up offensive line, and still making it work very well.
2nd and 1. They're going to ride Blunt. Bring it inside 10 minutes before they have another snap. And it's a first down carry. Sunday, the NFL on CBS brings out regional action. Many of you are going to see Cincinnati. Again, the Bengals unbeaten, taking on Pittsburgh. San Diego at Baltimore, Tennessee at Houston. Late, some of you will get the Jets at Oakland. All beginning at noon Eastern, with JB and the crew on the NFL Today.
What a job. When you just watch what they do on the offensive side, we've said it many times, give a lot of credit to Bill Belichick over the years, seeing how the rule changes, the league, how everything was turning towards the offensive side, and he's built his team around it.
There's a pass down the field, and it's LaFell with the catch. Brady goes over 300 on the night with that completion. Well, that's the 7th time now that Brady's passed 300 yards against Miami in his career.
Sorry, Jim. Right down the seam. They're one of the best seam-throwing football. So right down where the tackles and tight ends line up or in the slots, they do it 3 or 4 times a game. We saw it earlier with a big throw down the field, and there's one that time to LaFell. That's been a staple of the offense ever since Bill Belichick has been here.
From the 29, Brady. He's got Edelman again. Jumps away from the first hit, and he's down to the 10, and Brady's going to hurry him up to the line.
So many weapons. You ever heard people talk about it and they go, Tom Brady just doesn't have all the skill players around him that some of these other quarterbacks do in the NFL. And I just laughed. Well, what game are you watching? Gronkowski. We see Edelman, all the unique running backs. And the one thing that they've done ever since he's been a quarterback here, Jim, the one thing, what's your greatest asset? Your quarterback. So Bill Belichick has tried to keep, has an offensive line in front of his greatest asset. That's Tom Brady.
And he wants to play another 10 years, he just said recently. Here he is in trouble, and he's twisted down at the 16, and he's furious about it.
Never satisfied. And when you and I will watch the sack, the pocket finally collapses and
Vernon got him.
Vernon gets him. But when you watch Tom Brady play ever since college at Michigan, it's always been in him, but that edge to be a fierce competitor.
2nd and goal back at the 16. with the touchdown catch.
Talked about Tom Brady, how he worked so hard on his mechanics to keep his arm youthful, throwing the ball the way he did, even as a young kid, like we've said a couple times tonight. Throwing as good as ever. Look how tall he stays and just rips it.
He's got a 4-touchdown night. Edelman on both of his touchdown catches gets contacted about the 2, but he still dives ahead and finds the goal line.
You know, he's like a golfer that's on the PGA Tour. You know, he's not satisfied with being out there. They have success. You want to keep working on that swing. That's what he's done with this throwing motion.
It's the 24th time in Brady's remarkable career. He's had a 4-touchdown night. You look at his level of play, Phil, at the age of 38. Again, he says he wants to play another 10 years. All this offseason hysteria about Deflategate, all the criticism, conjecture that came with it. And again, the NFL this week appealing that Judge Berman decision. Do you think just watching him play, now up to 20 touchdowns, only 1 interception on the year, has this whole thing raised his motivation, given him a bigger chip than you've ever seen in his career?
You know, it'd be hard for me to say, yeah, he's more motivated, Jim, because I think his motivation has been great ever since we've seen him in the league. But I think there's no doubt, I'm going to say it this way, more determination than I've ever watched. And, you know, you see it when he plays. I just saw him smile. It seems like I never see him smile on the sidelines, you know, but even after all this great success. But I see it in the interviews, when you watch him on TV. And
could he play another 10 years? Is it possible? Could he play to 48?
I don't think so. But listen, it's a great thing to say. He's just trying to tell everybody, I'm not near the end. And if Bill Belichick is still the head coach, and if Josh McDaniel stays here as the offensive coordinator, it's going to be a lot of good years ahead, I'll tell you that.
Here's Tannehill. Throw across the middle. That's Matthews for 8. Just 7 minutes remaining. Puts Tannehill over 200. No touchdowns, 2 picks.
Well, you know, not a great night for Ryan Tannehill, but there's no question he's their franchise quarterback down in Miami.
Picks up a first down to Jordan Cameron.
You know, you just see a team, when you look at the Dolphins, Jim, we talked about it for the last few days. It's a team in transition. Dan Campbell takes over. You got to get everything organized. I think they got the quarterback. There's no doubt. They gave him the contract. You got to build around him and give him more opportunities to make throws.
There's an incompletion. You know, the AFC East, now that the Patriots are on their way now to having defeated the first go-round in the division, all 3 of the opponents. Since 2001, the quarterbacks to win the AFC East, there have only been 2 others. And guess what? The 2 others, the same guy. Chad Pennington is a Jet and is a member of the Dolphins in 08.
You know, as I see Tom Brady on the sideline, an offense that was worried about certain things coming in this game tonight.
Tannehill. He finds James Gray. That's a nice cut to pick up the first down. Now, you know, you got the Jets at 4-2, so, you know, there's certainly a long way to go in this season. And the Jets played the Patriots really tight last Sunday, led going into the 4th quarter. But having won against the Bills and the Dolphins tonight, the Jets last week, with another round to go against all the division foes. But they're on their way at this point. That pass is caught right on the mark there with Stills. You know, it's 7-0. This is a team trying to win the division for a 7th consecutive time. That hasn't happened in the league since back in the early 70s with the Los Angeles Rams.
Beautiful throw, that last play by Tannehill to Stills.
the 28. Hightower. And Tannehill got away just in time. And it's knocked down out of the hands of Landry. Butler, Harmon, McCourty. There were 3 Patriots defending.
You know, Dante Hightower and Jamie Collins, number 54, comes around the edge. Big linebackers who can stop the run. But what we're seeing more of, Jim, is them playing defensive end, especially Hightower, blitzing up the middle. This Patriots defense, you know, last week they had their hands full against the Jets, who are a team to look out for, no question. But they're going to get better. And I thought before the season, you just watched them in the preseason, this team had a chance to be every bit as good as the team that won the Super Bowl last year.
Second down and 10. Flushed out and thrown away. It's been an odd start to the year in a lot of ways around the league, Phil, when you consider that we have the most teams undefeated through week 7 since the 70 merger, yet we have the fewest number of teams that have a winning record. There are only 6 other teams with a winning record. So you've got these 5. Patriots are going to be the first now to get to 7-0 here tonight. Bengals at Pittsburgh. Green Bay and Denver. They'll be playing in the Mile High City on Sunday. As Carolina will be hosting Indianapolis. 3rd and 10. Over to Matthews. Trying to set some blockers up for him over there, but the Patriots help bust it up. Your 4th down coming up.
Well, of course, they're going to go for it. Field goals does nothing. And tell you, you think they were rolling, everything was all excitement. Hey, we were excited about the Miami Dolphins tonight, and reality hit them here tonight. You see how far they are away from being a championship team.
4th and 5. They'll keep the drive going as Sims hauls it in. Wasn't going to be the easiest position to be in because it's a complicated week anytime you play the Patriots, and when you have the short week.
Yeah, well, we could.
On top of it, you're traveling.
Got a new defensive coordinator, so that's tough on him, getting ready for an offense that does so many different things. New head coach, been on the job for a couple weeks.
To the end zone and just out of reach for Stills. So after tonight, the East looks like this. Miami and New England meet for the second time, week 17 on January the 3rd. But you look at the Dolphins, 0-3 in the division. Tannehill taken down by McCourty. Mayo was giving chase also.
McCourty once again off the outside. It was Patrick Chung one time. They switched positions. This time McCourty comes, same blitz. Nobody there to block him, gets the sack.
Yeah, that's the 5th sack registered by the Patriot defense. And now 3rd and 23. Down by Logan Ryan, who had an interception earlier in this game.
You know, they lost Darrelle Revis. Everybody thought, boy, this is going to be such a completely different team. What will they do? I think they've gotten better up front, and they play so much of this type of coverage, Jim, where they just play man-to-man, and they're getting better at this as the year goes along. That's what you have to do in this league now. If you can't cover the knockdown passes like that with the quarterbacks and receivers we see around the league, you're going to be in big trouble.
They've got to get all the way to the 7 for a first. 4th down play. They're after him again. Tannehill goes it toward the end zone. Jet ball knocked down. And the Patriots will take over on downs. Harmon back there. Rookie Justin Coleman as well. Thursday Night Football, again only on NFL Network starting next week. The Bengals and the Browns. bring it to the NFL Network. Garoppolo is in at quarterback. That's White at running back. And Jimmy Garoppolo in his second year out of Eastern Illinois takes over as Brady retires for the evening. Another stellar performance, Phil.
Yep, I mean, just a terrific performance. And, you know, I have a chance, and you do too, to talk to the coaches and players. And, you know, we felt the great concern from the coaches of the Patriots about the matchups, which we talked about. And does it really matter, Jim, when you talk about the Patriots? No matter what happens, they're going to score. You got to find a way to score 30 points to have a chance to beat them.
Offside, number 78, defense lined up in the neutral zone, 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
To your point on this 30-point discussion, you got to put up 30. They put up 28 in the first game against Pittsburgh, and every game now after that, they've scored at least 30, more than 30.
You know, you and I sit around and talk about what gives us some keys to the game and everything. And my first key for the Miami Dolphins is what? How do you score over 30? Because no matter what you do to this Patriots offense, they figure it out during the game, and they find the matchups that they want, and they exploit them.
2nd and 4, that's White. Had a prominent role in the game last week. And he's knocked back for a loss of 1. You start looking down the line at the Patriots' schedule. They got some games, the likes of at Denver. We're going to see them down at the New York Giants. They've got a game at the New York Jets. But this is a team that already the whispers are out there. Is this going to be like that team of a few years ago that went through the regular season?
They're not going to stop after this game, those whispers, that's for sure.
Coming up next, the Mazda post-game show. Interviews and analysis of tonight's game. Patriots get the mini bye this weekend, and then they'll be back at home a week from Sunday hosting the Redskins. That'll be the national late afternoon game on CBS, November 15th at the New York Giants. Often the nemesis for New England.
Yeah, I would say that's a good word for it.
Buffalo comes here at Denver.
You ever notice, just watching the Patriots sideline, just watching Tom Brady, Thursday night football, we hear it constantly. It's such a grind for the guys to get ready, but they all say the same thing. Boy, it's going to be great to get the weekend off. And just think, when you win, man, that just makes the weekend of course, it makes it much, much sweeter.
3rd and 5. Garoppolo hands it off to White. And he's stacked up by the Dolphins, who will force him to punt. And one last chance for the Dolphins offense to try to do a little something here, move the football a little bit. But they've had so far, Miami, only 14 yards rushing. And that would be, if it remains at that figure, it would be the 3rd lowest total rushing in a game in Miami's history. This is coming off of, well, Miller alone last week had 175 in a half. There's another punt fielded back deep from the 5-yard line.
I don't know if it says something about the Patriots defense or the two teams they played before. The Miami Dolphins, that is.
57-yard punt. Brady's night. First to Gronkowski on the opening drive. Lewis, who had, especially in that first half, a huge part of things. Then twice finding Edelman in the second half. And Edelman, you know, he moved out to Los Angeles so that he could get maybe some practice reps in the offseason with Brady, and quite a chemistry was formed this summer. Edelman and Amendola joined Brady up at a vacation home in Montana, and they've worked running routes starting at 6 in the morning at altitude, extreme altitude.
I would say this. If you're a quarterback in the NFL and you kind of watch this game, all the quarterbacks watch each other. There's a lot to learn from Tom Brady. And the fact is, you can keep your skill level high as you get older. Tom Brady, 38. And, you know, that's what you got to do. You got to keep working at your craft. And what makes you successful? He's a great quarterback because he throws the football so well, among many other things.
Stills catch. And a first down. And again, the Mazda post-game show will come up. All the interviews and analysis of tonight's game. And here we go, closing out the seconds here. His pass tipped up in the air and incomplete. We'll have the Browns at the Bengals next week.
Yeah, I'm
and if I may
looking forward to
borrow a little line that was used around here one time, it's for us on the Cincinnati.
Here we go. You know, the talking about the Bengals, looking forward to seeing them next week. What a difference getting some of their players back that they didn't have in the playoff game we did last year when they played the Indianapolis Colts. Their offense is maybe not quite as explosive or as good as the Patriots has been this year, but not far behind.
Is Jonas Gray racing up the middle. Might want to go out of bounds if they wanted to run another play, but that'll do it. Pick up a big gain with that last one, but of little consequence as Belichick and the Patriots now in the last 4 meetings here at Gillette against Miami have outscored them by nearly 100. 132 to 37 over the last 4 years here. Edelman tonight with 7 catches, 81 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yep. Everybody contributes. When you talk about this Patriots football team on both sides of the ball,
Oh, that's what it was? I got you, man.
start looking down at all the people that caught passes tonight. 3 different runners carried the ball.
On Willie McGinnis night as Belichick went over to congratulate him, one of his favorite players, on entering the franchise Hall of Fame tonight. All right, Tracy, let's send it down your way again.
Well, thanks a lot. I'm with Julian Edelman, and 4-touchdown night for Brady. 2 of those touchdowns to you in the second half. What can you say about the chemistry you two have together?
We got some chemistry, but we got chemistry with everyone. Everyone's out there producing. JoJo made some big plays coming off of PUP. Gronk being Gronk, having a little dirty out there. Dion, he's doing well. So it was a good team win. Defense had some turnovers. We got to get better on 3rd down, but it was good.
How about the way this team came out in a short week against a really confident Miami team coming in?
It was good. It was good. We knew we had a tough battle. I mean, these guys have been playing very confident. They've been playing tough for the new coach, and it was about preparation, getting in there and going in and doing everything you could to try to out-prepare them. And I think we prepared well.
Thanks a lot. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Tracy, you heard her ask about that chemistry with Brady. They didn't know each other as kids, but they grew up not even 10 minutes apart south of San Francisco. San Mateo for Tom, Redwood City for Julian. Their 2 hometowns just minutes away from the site of Super Bowl 50 on February 7th in Santa Clara. 36-7 is the final. The Mazda post-game show is coming up. We're back with more after this.